Look, I understand that this is an MMA channel, but this is a topic that I want to discuss, right? As an MMA fan, I have to say, boxing is in the shit. And, this gimmick of a fight is proof of that. In boxing, they're able to get away with these things, right? These exhibition matches, right? Former world heavyweight champion taking on a guy who is nowhere near the rankings and is a cruiserweight and has fought at cruiserweight in every single one of his fights except the Tyson fight. That is the only fight where he fought at heavyweight, and he did not look in best shape, and he looked slower than normal. Jake did. Right? And, imagine that, slower version of Jake against big old former world champion Anthony Joshua is going to have every advantage, right? Jake's not even going to have a speed advantage because, well, he is slow at this weight. At 230 pounds, he is slow at this weight. So Joshua is going to have every single advantage, power, speed, technicality, reach, literally everything. Right, but this type of thing wouldn't happen in MMA. Would it? No. You're not gonna see Andrew Tate fight Sergey Pavlovich, right? That's just about how stupid this is. But the thing is, this, Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua doesn't sound as stupid just because boxing is used to this level of stupid. As a former boxing fan, and this kind of message towards boxing fans as well. I feel bad for you guys. I feel bad for you guys. You need to come over to the light side. Right? Come over to the light side. Go over to MMA. It's good over here. We're eating good. We're on a 6-week break right now, but we had a solid year. Started off a little rocky. Promotion was kind of crappy, but the fights have been amazing, especially in the last few months. It's been great. UFC's been great. That's great championship fights. Lots of new champions. We heard and new in every weight class this year. We can actually keep track of our weight classes. We don't have 50 weight classes or 30 weight classes, 27, whatever. And we have one organization. We don't have the heavy world champion being stripped of one title in one organization just because he won't fight the guy who's only the number one ranked contender in that organization, when in Usyk's clause he had to fight Fury. And the WBA knew that Usyk had that clause, that he had to have a rematch with Fury, but was like, oh, well, we're going to strip you for it anyways because you're not going to fight the guy we want you to fight. Like, what are you talking? You knew that there was that clause. Why? It doesn't make any sense. There was no reason to strip him. You shouldn't have stripped him of a title when you already knew that he had the clause and you were fine with him taking that fight in the first place. WBA or BC or what? You can't even keep track of him. Keep track of him. Now, you can say the Ali Act is a great thing, yeah, but the Ali Act is also, led to. It's made it, easy for boxing to stay corrupt and kind of disorganized, and to have gimmicky shit like this, exhibition matches. I'm a pro fighter and I'm gonna have an exhibition match that is just the same as a pro match, but it's gonna be exposition, so it doesn't go on my record. I'm gonna fight this influencer for a bunch of money, and and sometimes, we have these clauses. Sometimes there's clauses in the expedition match, where, one guy can't knock the other guy out, right? Like in the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. I don't know exactly what the clause was, but it was clear. If you watch that fight, anytime Jake Paul hurt Mike, he backed away, back into the center, and was like, all right, Mike, come on. Like, it was sad, because Jake was able to rock him easily, and then he wouldn't follow up. And Jake is a guy who follows up. The only two boxers guys that are only pro boxers and haven't done anything else. Ryan Borland and Andre August, people are like, oh, who are they? They're actually decent prospects, 17-3 and, 10-2. Maybe not prospects, but they're solid cruiserweight boxers. But do you know why people don't talk about those fights? Because Jake Paul ran through them in a minute. Ran through Meech in like a minute and a half. Right? Combined 3 minutes. His best 2 wins took him 3 minutes total. Right? He fucked him up. Jake Paul is a solid boxer. All right. Let's get that out of the way. All right, but yeah, the Mike Tyson thing, I think that there was some clause where Jake Paul wasn't allowed to knock him out. Jake Paul said, you want to knock him out? But yeah, this is what Jake Paul's going to say. He talks. Jake Paul talks. But there was clearly some clause. Because if there wasn't a clause, Jake would have knocked Tyson out in round 1 or 2. And that's obvious. If you want to cope and say, oh man, it's Mike Tyson. He's 60, and did you watch the fight? Did you watch the fight? Half the time it seems like boxing fans don't watch the fights. Now, I don't pay attention to boxing as much, but I watch MMA all the time, and I was a big boxing fan, and I can tell when a guy is rocked. And I can tell when a guy isn't going for the finish when he clearly has the opportunity to go for the finish, right? I have that amount of fight IQ and vision IQ, I guess. Oh, and another one with one of these stupid fucking clauses. We got Deji versus Mayweather. Mayweather was like doing push-ups in the middle of rounds. I mean, okay, sure, yeah, it's great, what's wrong with that? These guys are just making money and having fun in these exhibition matches. I get it, they're making money, but it's a fucking joke. It makes it look like a joke. It really does. Fighting these influencers, doing push-ups in between, it's like, yeah, I mean, the point of fighting is the competition and, honor and respect and, big tough guy. Not fighting someone who's not worth your fucking time. But with the way boxing is, if you get offered Jake Paul, you're gonna take it. Because easy money, right? But it shouldn't be easy money. You shouldn't be getting this much money to fight a fucking influencer. It's bullshit. You should be getting more money to fight for championships. Doesn't matter who it's against. An influencer. An influencer boxer. I know, Jake, he's more boxer than influencer nowadays. That is a fact. But still, the reason he's making as much money as he is because he's a popular influencer. He should not be making more money than boxing world. He should not be making more money boxing fucking 50-year-old, 45-year-old, whatever, Anderson Silva. He shouldn't be making more money fighting old Anderson Silva than, Inoue making his bajillionth title defense, right? Man, it's just it's crazy. Boxing sucks. Boxing sucks. You got gimmick shit like this. I'm not even against Jake Paul. Jake Paul's doing his thing. He's having his fun fights, whatever. But for boxing to be like, oh yeah, we're going to let a former world champ box Jake Paul. Cool. We don't care how this looks on our sport. We don't have dignity anymore. Sure, let's do this. And I mean, hey, at least it's not a pro match. It's it's an exhibition, right? And why is it an exhibition? Well, because Anthony, on the very off chance Jake somehow fucking wins, he doesn't want that to be on his pro record, which I guess is fair, but at the same time, it's like, you pussy. you know what I mean? I mean, he's obviously not. He's a pro boxer, world champ. Of course, he's a badass. But just a little bit pussy. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's, some of these things might not sound serious by themselves, but, add it up. And plus, boxing just fucking rigged. Boxing's rigged. There's so many rigged matches. But I don't think Jake's fights are rigged. There's no proof that they're rigged. They're not. I think people who think that Jake's fights are rigged, they're just coping. They're just coping that they're one of the most popular guys in their sport is a fucking influencer who's famous for beating up on retired MMA fighters in boxing. Hey, I mean, if I was a hardcore boxing fan, I'd be pissed too. But it doesn't mean they have to cope and lie and say, oh, this fight's rigged. It's the only way you win them. No. He's a good boxer. He trains. And probably he's juicing. He trains and probably juice. And it's not muscle juice. No, it's the juice that, Ryan Garcia takes. And the juice that... The juice that athletes take. Just probably on the Ostarine. Or whatever the fuck, right? So he can recover better. He can recover better and he can train more. That's a big thing, being able to train more. Don't get worn down as easily. You recover. Your muscles don't tear as easily. And stuff like that, right? Man, what else should I cover? I don't know. This video, I'm shitting on boxing while simultaneously kind of defending Jake Paul. I mean, like, what Jake Paul is making boxing look like a joke, but that's not necessarily Jake Paul doing anything wrong. Jake Paul is having fun. And he should be allowed to an extent. But at the same time, the fact that one of the most famous guys in boxing is an influencer boxer, that shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. The fact that boxing allowed this to happen. Man, I guess it's not all boxing's fault, It's, the fault of the people, the viewers, that these influencers become as famous as they do. All started with him doing some corny shit on Vine. Oh my gosh. Man, Jake is dead. Jake is dead. Props to him to accepting it, I guess. I don't know. This is one of those things you can say, oh, he's either brave or he's an idiot. I think it's both. He's brave, but he's definitely an idiot. You shouldn't be accepting this shit. You're punching above your weight, literally. Literally, look at the side. Dude, come on, Jake. Where the fuck your definition go? Because a heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight. Jake should never be a heavyweight. He looks chubs. Look a little chubby. He's not Andy Ruiz chubby. But, like, chubbier than here at cruiserweight. See? We knocked that Andre August, man. See, and Ryan Bourne, like, see, I mean, Jake ain't, like, chiseled, but, like, in better shape than he is a heavyweight. He's got better definition. I know his tattoos cover it, but, yeah. Jake Paul's done. Joshua's gonna smoke him. And the fact, like, this is a main event of a boxing card. Is an influencer boxer versus a former world champion. There are going to be pro fights on this card. There are going to be high-level pro fights. Isn't there going to be championship fights on this card? And this is the main event. That's how it was last time. There were championship fights. And the main event was Jake versus Tyson. An influencer versus a 60-year-old man. Oh, and that was a pro fight, by the way. Yeah, that's on Mike Tyson's record as a loss. That wasn't an exhibition, yeah. And how the fuck can you have an exhibition on the main event of a pro card? I don't understand. I mean, I understand how boxing has gotten to the point that it has, and I feel like a lot of people praise Ali Act, but it's kind of shit at the same time. It allows boxing to be shit. It allowed boxing to go downhill. It gives boxing a lot of freedom, and so there it can have high highs and it can have low lows, and it's been riding them low lows. I memean, when Jake Paul is one of the most famous boxers on the planet, that's just a fact. That's a fact. When you ask people, oh, what boxers that currently fight do you know? And they're gonna be like, Jake Paul. They're gonna say Jake Paul. Maybe Ryan Garcia. Canelo, yeah. Fury. Maybe Joshua, maybe Usyk. Maybe fucking a Bivol, right? Crawford, but Jake's going to be in that mix. Might say Inoue as well, but yeah, Jake's going to be in that mix. He is one of the most famous boxers on the planet. Boxing! Why'd you allow this shit to happen? What fucking happened to you? What happened to you? I feel bad for you guys. I'll be watching this, though. I'll be watching this. Because there's no UFC for 5.5 more weeks. Plus at the same time, it's still combat sports. I have a love for combat sports. And, I'm kind of rooting for Jake Paul in a way. Obviously he's going to get destroyed and brutally KO'd. Sucks your Jake. But I kind of like Jake. I like what he's doing. Sort of. That contradicts what I say, though. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of neutral. I wish Jake would stay at cruiserweight. For some reason, the WBC, those dumbasses decided to rank him at number 15. Shouldn't have. But Jake Paul at cruiserweight, I think, should, try and fight someone in the top 30 range in the division. Fight the number 25 ranked guy at cruiserweight and see what happens. If Jake wins, it's okay. We're looking at, potentially a top 15 matchup here. One more fight, top 15. That's what Jake should be doing. He should be trying to work his way into the cruiserweight rankings. He shouldn't be getting himself knocked out by Anthony Joshua. Anyways, I'm going to watch Anthony Joshua and knock him out because it is a big fight. And I'm still going to watch it. So, I'm falling into the trap. Of course I'm going to watch. Dude. As a combat sports fan, we watch Jake Paul fights. Why? I don't know. Dude's got a gimmicky personality. He's funny and corny and cringy. And he's funny sometimes. Other times he's just straight up corny as fuck. But those fights are... they get a reaction out of me. Either I'm like, this is boring as hell, Jake. Or it's like, oh, this is not bad. This is nice. It's good. But I think it's going to be a brutal KO. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens to Jake, and I might watch some of the fights before this on the card. There's no UFC this weekend, so I'm not I don't have any fights I gotta watch. So I might actually, watch a little bit of this card, and I'll do a breakdown of it. I'm not really gonna do predictions. I don't know boxing well enough to predict the full card. I might look at the card. My prediction for this fight, though, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua, round 2, brutal KO. Jake is going to go out on a shield, I think. I think Jake's going to show heart. He's going to show grit. But he just won't be able to stay in there. I think Joshua is going to try and go to that body. He's trying to go to that body. Jake's going to be, the defendant. He's going to be hurt. And he's going to try and jab out, circle out. Maybe get an overhand that, kind of stings Joshua right over the temple. Joshua, smiles, glove taps, and then boom, body shot. Boom, to the, straight down the middle. 3, 2, boom. And then, Jake's sleeping up against the ropes, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was so brutal. And even the Jake haters are gonna love it. But the people who are neutral about Jake, they're just gonna be like, oh jeez. Jake, why did you accept this? Easy money for Joshua. Jake, best of luck. Hope you don't get KO'd too badly. That's all I can say. Unless there's some bullshit clause no one can knock each other out. So Jake gets his head pinged around. Man, imagine there's a clause that they can't knock each other out. Dude, that'd be insane because then Jake would get pinged around for 8 rounds straight. Oh my gosh, Jake would take so much brain trauma. It's going to take a lot of brain trauma as it is. After this, I don't think we're going to see Jake Paul for about a year. It's a shame that he accepted this fight. This is shit decision from Jake Paul. Shit decision from boxing. Only one who's going to benefit is Anthony Joshua's bank account. Well, Jake Paul is going to get his show money, and, he's going to make 100 mil or whatever the fuck. Freaking bullshit. Making the same as world champions just because he was famous before boxing. Man, the downsides of living in the corporate world. Hey, I like capitalism as much as the next guy, but sometimes too much is too much. Speaking of too much, I've been ranting for way too long. I have outstayed my welcome in this video.